Hey everyone, today is Friday, June 17th, 2022. Summer Game Fest just wrapped up, and I was thinking about doing like a little brief recap or kind of going over the stuff that I thought was the most interesting, but I think I'm gonna wait and see if Nintendo does a direct this month, because I'd like to include that, so maybe that Friday Free Talk is coming in the future. Also, hopefully there won't be a Friday Free Talk next week because instead I'll have an actual video to upload. We'll see how that goes though. In the meantime, I kind of wanted to talk about physical or digital games on current gen consoles and just hear what your guys' thoughts are on this. So I think that both physical and digital games have their own benefits, but I'm not exactly sure which one is better or if there is like a better option between the two. For me, I think it kind of depends on the platform. For Xbox, I like going digital because it's convenient. It has that quick resume feature, which makes bouncing in between games super like nice and fun. I don't know, it's really cool. Actually makes me feel like my Xbox is next gen. And I also have a lot more faith in their backwards compatibility compared to like Sony or Nintendo, in which case I'm a little bit iffy on whether or not, I don't know, they even like care about backwards compatibility that much. Games these days are huge, and it sucks that you have to download them in order to play them. So I figured that if I'm going to have to install them anyway, I might as well just get the digital version so I don't have to bother with switching discs around on my Xbox. It's also kind of nice because I don't have to worry about losing or breaking a game disc, which unfortunately happens way more than I'd like to admit. Really, all I have to do to play an older game is just re-download it, and I think Xbox does a really great job at making older games accessible. So bouncing between games like digitally on the Xbox is super convenient, and I think that it's probably how I'm gonna stick with buying games on my Xbox, at least, is just mostly digital. On the other hand, it can also really suck because when Xbox Live is down or you don't have a connection or there's just some sort of problem with their servers, then sometimes you just can't access your games due to like the online sign-in requirements. You can make your Xbox your home Xbox, in which case you don't have to worry about that, but if you do that, then you can't game share with other people. So I guess if you just play Xbox by yourself and don't game share, you shouldn't have that much of a problem with this, but if you do decide to game share, then you're just kind of out of luck if you can't access the Xbox servers. This happened a few weeks ago where like Xbox servers were down or something and people couldn't play their games, and it sucked. So I'm not really sure if like having like a required sign-in to play your games is really the best way to go through with it, but obviously Xbox does it, so if you're game sharing, you can't just game share with like a million different people and then never buy games, but whatever. On PlayStation, I prefer mostly physical games because I'm not entirely confident in their future-proofing when it comes to backwards compatibility. A lot of people got upset when they found out they couldn't play all their PS3 games on the PS4 and 5, and that's completely understandable. I guess there's some hardware difference between the PS3 and newer consoles, and Sony just didn't bother trying to find a way to fix it. I mean, I guess they have the new PlayStation Plus service where you can emulate the games through the cloud, but I don't know, that kind of sucks. I don't really like that. I'd rather just be able to plop in my PS3 disc and be able to play. But the main reason why I prefer physical games on PlayStation is because I usually only play the single player exclusives like God of War and Spider-Man, and when I'm done with those, I can just uninstall them and make room for the next game. I don't really like to do that on my Xbox because most of my friends play on Xbox, so I don't want to have to go back and forth uninstalling and reinstalling big multiplayer titles, just depending on whatever my friends want to play that night. So I like to keep my single player games on PlayStation and my multiplayer games on Xbox. Nintendo is a different beast completely. Nintendo doesn't do a very good job at making their games backwards compatible, at least more recently. And that's because they know that idiots like me will just buy a re-release of a game on whatever the current console is. For example, Skyward Sword originally came out on the Wii for $50, and I bought it on the Switch for $60. The differences between the Wii version and the Switch port are tiny, but I still bought it. Mostly because I never played it on the Wii, so I guess I actually got my money's worth, but that's besides the point. Nintendo likes to create their own supply and demand when it comes to their first-party games, which I think is why they choose to keep their games exclusive to certain consoles. Then again, GameCube games were compatible with the Wii, and Wii games were compatible with the Wii U. But GameCube games don't play on the Wii U, so I don't know, maybe Nintendo doesn't know what they're doing. Whatever, either that or they just have no idea how to appeal to their fan base. So for the Switch, I buy all of the single player games as physical, and for multiplayer games like Mario Kart 8, I'll buy digital so I can always access it while I travel. And personally, I think that's one of the biggest selling points for the Switch is that if you have these digital games, you can just play whatever one you want while you're out and about. I would buy more digital games, but I just don't really have that much confidence in Nintendo going into the future, especially since the next Nintendo console is probably coming out soon and within the next few years. I think I remember seeing an interview where a Nintendo spokesperson said they wanted to make the transition from the Switch to whatever the new console is as clean as possible, so maybe they'll actually try to keep those cartridges backwards compatible, but I don't know if I'd bet money on it. Obviously, companies like Xbox and PlayStation have really been pushing the digital-only consoles. I know they have versions of that for the PS5, and the new, the Series S is digital-only. A big part of that is because this way people can't resell their games when they're done with it, so I guess it makes sense from that standpoint. But when it comes to game preservation, I think it's really important to be able to get a physical game, even if it sucks that you have to install it every time you want to play it. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I hope that physical games don't go away completely, and I don't think that they will. I wish we could find some sort of balance again where between physical and digital games could just be more convenient. Kind of like how it was with back in the 360 days where you can just swap a disc out. And I get that games are way more intensive now and a lot of times require to be installed in order to run because they're just that much more beefy. But I still I wish we could go back to that, you know? I appreciate Nintendo for sticking with cartridges and not having to install your games onto the internal hard drive in order to play. Anyway, what do you guys think? What do you prefer to buy? Do you prefer digital or you prefer physical? Do you have a certain preference depending on the platform that you're playing on, or is it just the same all around? I think that physical collections look pretty impressive because you can put them on a bookshelf and showcase all of the cool cases you have for games, but it is super convenient having your games digital. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I appreciate you as always, and I will catch you on the next one.